Cassie Monroe had never thought of herself as a gold digger. In fact, she'd never even dreamed she'd be paid to interfere in someone else's life, let alone someone's romantic life. But life hadn't been easy lately. Her bills had stacked up like an impossible Jenga tower. Her rent was overdue, and her old car had given up in the middle of a rainy Wednesday morning. So when her best friend Lily waved a $20 bill in her face and asked her to handle a blind date for the night, Cassie hesitated only for a second. $20 might not solve her problems, but it could at least buy her dinner and a latte or a new tank of gas. Just distract him, make him uncomfortable, anything to ruin it, Lily said with a mischievous grin. Trust me, it's for his own good. Cassie rolled her eyes, but accepted the challenge. After all, it was only $20 and a few hours of her time. How bad could it be? The cafe was warm, cozy, and filled with the soft hum of conversation and the rich aroma of freshly ground coffee. Cassie scanned the room and spotted him immediately. He was impossible to miss. Tall, impeccably dressed, and with an aura that suggested he didn't have a single worry in the world. The kind of man who, Cassie thought with a pang of envy, probably had someone clearing his driveway before he even got out of bed. He was already seated, looking at the menu with the faintest crease of concentration between his brows. Cassie's plan was simple. Sit at the next table, make casual eye contact, and slowly drop hints that this blind date was a disaster waiting to happen. Taking a deep breath, she approached the table with a casual smile. Hi, sorry. Mind if I sit here for a second? I promise I'm not crazy. She trailed off, searching for something, anything, that could make this moment uncomfortable. The man looked up and Cassie froze. His eyes were sharp, intelligent, but there was a kindness to them that made her instantly nervous. Sure, he said smoothly, his voice calm and rich. I don't mind. Cassie sat down and Lily's instructions buzzed in her head. Make him uncomfortable, get him flustered, don't let him enjoy the date. She tried her best. I have to say, she began, leaning in slightly, it's kind of strange that someone as successful as you would agree to a blind date. I mean, you must get approached all the time, right? The man chuckled softly. Well, not every date ends with someone offering $20 to ruin it, he said, his gaze locking on hers. Cassie felt heat creep up her neck. That was unsettlingly perceptive. She tried another tactic. So, do you always come to cafes like this? I mean, it's so casual for someone like you. His smile widened. I like simple pleasures. Coffee, people watching, and occasionally interesting conversations with strangers. Cassie's heart skipped. Strangers, huh? She reminded herself sharply. He's just a blind date. Don't fall for him. But then he asked the simplest question, one that should have been harmless. And you? What's your story? Cassie hesitated. Her life was chaotic, messy, and far from glamorous. But as she spoke about her job at the local bookstore, her side hustle writing short stories for a tiny online publication, she saw him listening, really listening, with an intensity that made her forget the $20 bribe and Lily's instructions. The blind date, who had arrived moments later, with a nervous smile, looked like he was about to answer her questions. But before he could, Cassie noticed something. The man wasn't just listening. He was learning, remembering, responding in ways that made her feel seen for the first time in months. And then he laughed. Not a polite laugh. Not a chuckle to fill the silence. An honest-to-God laugh that made his eyes crinkle at the corners. Cassie's plan faltered. She tried to interrupt with a snide remark. Something awkward to throw him off. But it backfired spectacularly. He turned to her, smiling warmly. You have a sharp wit, he said. I like that. Most people either can't keep up or don't bother trying. Cassie's stomach did that weird fluttering thing she hated admitting. He was intoxicating. By the end of the evening, the original blind date had slunk away, muttering something about needing another coffee somewhere else. Cassie was alone with the man, feeling a strange mix of guilt and exhilaration. I feel like I owe you an apology, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. I wasn't exactly supposed to make your date enjoyable. He tilted his head, curiosity shining in his eyes. Was that your plan? Cassie nodded, sheepishly. Yes. $20, she admitted. My friend. He held up a hand. I don't care about that, he said simply. I care about you. And you just made my evening unforgettable. Cassie stared. You're serious? Completely, he said. I'm Alexander Kane, by the way. Cassie blinked. Alexander Kane. The Alexander Kane, the CEO whose name was on Forbes' list, the man she had seen in magazines but never dreamed she'd meet in person. Her jaw nearly hit the table. You didn't run when you found out I was supposed to ruin your date? She asked incredulously. He leaned back, relaxed, with that infuriatingly confident smile. I didn't run because you were honest. You didn't try to impress me with lies, and you were yourself. That's more than most people ever manage. Cassie felt something inside her shift. Her walls, built from years of financial struggle, embarrassment, and skepticism, began to crumble. She didn't understand why or how, but she wanted to know more about him, and somehow she wanted him to know more about her, too. Over the next few weeks, Alexander made it his mission to see her again. Coffee turned into dinners into late-night walks, and conversations that felt endless and effortless. He wasn't just rich. He was kind, considerate, and astonishingly normal for someone whose life seemed to live on another plane entirely. Cassie tried, for a fleeting moment, to remind herself of reality. She was just a girl who had accepted $20 to sabotage a date, and he was Alexander Kane. But every time she looked at him, that logic seemed absurd. One evening, after a quiet dinner in the park, Alexander took her hands in his. I know our story didn't start conventionally, he said softly, but it doesn't matter. Life is funny that way. Sometimes the right person comes when you least expect it, even if it's in the middle of a little sabotage. Cassie laughed nervously, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. So, $20 changed both our lives? Alexander shook his head, smiling like he knew a secret. No, you did. You were honest, genuine, and real. That's what drew me to you. Not $20. Not a plan to ruin a date. You. And in that moment, Cassie knew that for the first time in her life, she had met someone who saw her, not the messy, struggling, everyday version, but the person beneath it all. And she saw him, too. Love, she realized, had a strange way of finding you. Sometimes it didn't matter who planned it or paid for it. It only mattered that it happened at all. By the time Cassie finally admitted it to herself, Alexander Kane was no longer just a millionaire CEO. He was hers, in the way that mattered most. Completely, unmistakably, and without conditions. If you liked the video, please subscribe to the channel.